Welcome back to Short Times. Today I'm going to walk you through the film Downsizing from 2017, directed by Alexander Payne. So, here we go. Film begins with Dr. Jørgen Asbjørnsen. Dr. Jørgen Asbjørnsen is a Norwegian scientist, discovers downsizing, an irreversible technique that shrinks organic material in search of a solution to overpopulation and global warming. He is among the first human test subjects and is encouraged because the process shrinks humans to a height of about 5 inches, substantially reducing their consumption. However, those who use the downsizing technique must follow certain guidelines. A person's size cannot be returned to normal if the downsizing technique is applied to them all at once. It means that man will always be a little creature, and the next generation will similarly be little in size. After that, this invention spread like wildfire over the globe. While some people supported it, others opposed it. At the same time, people that enjoy this downsizing manner of life have shrunk into little sizes and are happy with their lives. A pair shows up on the scene after 10 years. Paul and Audrey Safranek are a married couple in Omaha who are having financial difficulties. When they learn about this procedure, they both support it. Paul has frequently believed that he will go through a shrinking procedure, but he lacked the confidence to do it though. One day when Paul attends a party, he meets one of his buddies and his wife, who have shrunk to the size of ants and are celebrating their lives. They arrive at the party in a little glass box. Paul afterwards had a private talk with his shrunken buddy. His pal states that he is really content with his life now that he has downsized. When he was big, his life was full of problems. Right now, he feels very connected to his life. His once tiny property has expanded in size. In his new world, he has grown into a wealthy person. With this information, Paul and his wife are extremely driven. They are happy. They both decide to shrink themselves as well. Later, Paul and his wife attend the downsizing meeting. To learn more about it, the downsizing crew informs them that their property will be expanded to that world. Meanwhile, a lady informs pals that his property will turn into $200 million after they are downsized. Paul is happy to hear it. Later, they are brought to the lab to begin the downsizing process. Along with Paul, there were other individuals who had also shrunk to a little size. Paul is lying on a bed after being reduced in size. Paul learns that his wife canceled her plan at the same time and leave the lab. In fact, a year later, Paul seals the divorce documents since he can no longer afford to live alone in the mansion. He moved into an apartment and started working as a customer service agent for Land's End. Since he did not anticipate needing to work after being shrunk, he let his occupational therapy license expire. Later, he began dating someone. After a few days, they part ways. Following that day, Paul attends a crazy party that his mysterious but friendly neighbor Duan is hosting. The following morning, Paul identifies Ngoc Lan Tran, a Vietnamese political activist who was imprisoned and downsized against her will, escaped in a television box, and only barely survived being transported to the United States as one of Duan's home cleaners. Paul visits her flat in the neighborhood of slums where the residents of Leisureland's service industry reside. Paul is horrified at the conditions in the slum because he had not considered this aspect of the small economy. At her apartment, Ngoc Lan has Paul try to help her dying friend. When she finally lets him work on her prosthetic leg, he breaks it until she can get a new one. He agrees to work for her cleaning service and also help her gather food from around the city to distribute throughout the slums. Dusan, upon learning what Paul is doing, attempts to release Paul from his obligation by taking him to deliver supplies to the original colony for small people. But, unexpectedly, Ngoc Lan decides to tag along, as she has a standing invitation to visit Dr. Asbjørnsen, who had heard about her ordeal. Dr. Asbjørnsen and his wife board the boat driven by Duan's friend Joris Conrad in a Norwegian fjord. Dr. Asbjørnsen declares that it has been clearly determined that the human race will soon become extinct, owing to the positive feedback of Arctic methane emissions. Paul wonders if downsizing may preserve humanity, but Dr. Asbjørnsen argues the operation is too late, since just 3% of the globe has decided to shrink so far. Later that night, Paul and Ngoc Lan, who had fallen in love, had sex. The travelers discover that the next day, Dr. Asbjørnsen is putting in place a backup plan. He and the other colonists will enter a massive underground vault, from which their descendants will emerge after the surface environment stabilizes in around 8,000 years. Duan and Joris are suspicious of the cult-like scheme, claiming that extinction will take hundreds of years. However, Paul is eager to enter the vault and contribute to the mission to secure humanity's survival. He invites Ngoc Lan to join him, but she declines, claiming that those in need will be those left above ground. As the vault door closes, Paul changes his mind and steps outside, while Paul and Ngok Lan continue to assist the residents of the slums. Finally, the movie ends back in Leisureland.